Movies? I like to watch movies.
Yeah?
Do they pay people to watch movies?
Horror and imagery, horror and tone.
Cool. Wow. It's just an incredibly well-crafted scene.
My name is Darren Van Dam, and I'm what you call a professional YouTuber, and yes, I do get paid to watch a ridiculous amount of movies, but no, it is probably not in the way that you're thinking. In a departure from my typical content, in this video, I'm gonna explain how I got started doing this and how I actually make good money watching bad movies.
Well, I'm going to get straight to the point.
For starters, I don't consider myself a movie critic. I actually don't really appreciate the way that movie critics attack the job, or at least the way most of them do, and I've never had any desire to be one. Now, if you found this video and you're unfamiliar with my typical content here on Flick Connection, all of my videos are lists of movies currently available to stream on the big services like Netflix, Prime Video, and some of the free services like Tubi, even right here on YouTube. I often recommend 10 to 20 movies per video, and I only spend about 1 minute per movie explaining why you might want to watch it, who might want to watch it, as well as some of the shortcomings that you might want to be aware of, all done with an effort to help strangers like yourself find your new favorite flicks. But I started all this on Instagram in late 2015. But it just started as a fun way to gamify a social media platform. I was looking around, noticing everybody was staring at their phones all day while they're driving, in waiting rooms, in restaurants, while they're on dates. Everyone's glued to their phone. So instead of doom scrolling or crushing candy or whatever most people are doing on their phones, I decided to try to gamify Instagram and see if I could actually grow an audience. More importantly, the feedback I was getting was overwhelmingly positive, which didn't make a ton of sense to me because you only ever really hear about negative feedback online. It's rampant, but to get so much positive feedback from an audience is what gave me the gumption to pursue YouTube. Now, it gave me the gumption, it didn't give me the idea. I had been long considering a YouTube channel. Back before I even started this Instagram thing, I had become an avid YouTube watcher, and I noticed not only were creators on YouTube back then earning much bigger audiences than some network television shows, but I also noticed the wide breadth of content that was earning viewers. Everything from people doing relatively simple trick shots to creating disgustingly oversized entrees. And it was also clear that these content creators were doing all this with very minimal equipment, minimal staff and resources, and in a lot of cases with minimal or even non-existent talent. I also knew that working in a cubicle, which is what I was doing at the time, was going to destroy my soul, and I needed a way out of that before my kids grew up.
I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to. And you have to do it. You have to, or I'll fire you. Do you understand?
You see, in January of 2016, not long after I had started this Instagram page, our first son was born, and I spent the first year of his life kind of hemming and hawing on, am I gonna do a YouTube channel? What do I need to get started? I was in the planning phase, and I kind of got stuck there for, nearly a year until I ultimately just ripped the Band-Aid off. 2 weeks after his first birthday, I launched my first video on YouTube with the commitment of making a new one every single week for that year. Now, I'll warn you, if you're going to do something like this with a 1-year-old at home, consult with your partner first. I don't remember doing that, but I do remember my wife bathing him, putting him to bed almost every night while I was at work in my attic studio. I use studio with quotation marks. You see, I still had a full-time job at this time, and the only way I could create this YouTube channel was by putting in those extra hours in the evening.
Step 1, clear your mind. Step 2,
We got some dancing to do.
Now, I started with just my iPhone. No microphone, no fancy lights, just me and the phone. Because I knew not many people were gonna see these first videos I put out, but I knew I needed to create them and I needed to post them with all their imperfections so that I could learn how to go about doing this in a more professional manner. And after about 6 months of grinding out at least 1 video a week, sometimes 2 or 3, I began to earn a few cents a day. That is what several hundred views a day is worth. Not much at all. but still, hundreds of people were watching me talk about movies every day. And by January 2018, exactly 11 months into this project, I started to earn 1,000 to 2,000 views every day, which equated to about $1 or $2. Again, not much, but a heck of a lot more than a few pennies. But by spring of that same year, I was making about $30 a day talking about movies on YouTube, which was amazing to me at the time. Like, I was making money talking about movies, but our second child, our daughter, was on the way. She was due any day now, and it was not nearly enough money to replace a full-time gig. Fast forward a whole year and a half, almost 2 years later, we're in December of 2019. I upload 4 videos. I earned 1.5 million views that month and earned $6,081.08. The most I had ever made as a YouTuber by a decent margin. 1 month later, I was fired from my job for running a YouTube channel on the side.
Good Lord.
I literally grew big enough to quit my job at the exact same time I was big enough that people I worked with started to notice I was a YouTuber. So, you know, whew, I made it under the wire. I am now officially a professional YouTuber. I couldn't be more excited. I now have the full day to not only produce videos, but go to the movie theater and see all these movies that are coming out that I didn't have the chance to talk about and review when I had that day job.
3 weeks later.
The nation's 2 largest movie theater chains are closing their doors for the foreseeable future.
You know, I did everything I was supposed to do.
And over the next year, the theaters continued to be closed, and I continued to recommend things on streaming with continued success. And I took this time to settle into a routine and to set up my studio, which I will admit is still very rudimentary. So almost no overhead, no staff to worry about, no bills, just me, a camera, and a pile of movies.
That's all you have to do.
And to do this, I don't watch just whatever I want. Now, I do that too, but I also watch a ridiculous amount of awful movies in order to uncover those like rare gems that are much better than anyone would expect. Movies that you pass on all the time, I watch those and occasionally find some great ones to recommend. Most of my days are spent editing these videos. In fact, cutting the videos, uploading them, and managing them on YouTube is most of my workday. And in that time, I often will preview these terrible movies. There are plenty of days where I preview 3 or 4 movies and come away with nothing to recommend.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat a-hole?
Now, the big question I get a lot of times is, have I ever been paid to specifically watch a movie and review it? No. And I never will, and to my knowledge, that's not even a thing that happens. Maybe it does, but to my knowledge, it does not. Quick side story, once I did get offered $2,500 by a movie producer to talk specifically about movies he produced, how good he is at producing movies, and how important that job is. I did not want to do it. I told him I needed $5,000 to do it, just to kind of politely dismiss them. They agreed, and I still turned it down. The real way I make money watching movies is by the advertisements on YouTube. And don't hesitate to skip those. YouTubers are making money based on volume of ads seen. You yourself sitting through the videos, you're helping them make a penny at most. It's also worth noting that YouTubers have zero say in what ads actually show up on your channel. So if you're ever upset by the ads that you're being fed, that has more to do with the advertisers choosing their audience and nothing to do with the content creator that you're watching. YouTube revenue, though, doesn't even come close to competing with network television, and there are some reasons for that. One of them is, if you're still watching network television, you're consuming way more advertisements than you are with YouTube. Even if you think YouTube has a lot of ads, it doesn't come close to cable TV. Which is why most professional YouTubers also have sponsors on their videos. For me, this makes up about half of my revenue, and I typically only take on sponsors of products I enjoy myself and like recommending. The only caveat to that is occasionally I'll work with a sponsor that I end up not really liking as much as I thought I would, but for the most part, especially ones that I do continued business with, they're all products I actually enjoy in my life and like to recommend. So at the end of the day, I'm not getting paid to watch movies. I'm getting paid to talk to my audience, and my audience wants me to recommend as many movies as possible. So if you have something that you love, try finding a way to express it in a way that people can connect with. I think if you can do that consistently, then you can gamify any social media platform. And once you have an audience that wants to hear you week after week, people will pay you to reach that audience. That's how I make money watching movies.